All right, so we're going to try this out. I'm going to talk you through this PowerPoint, see how this goes, guys. This is biology. This is our very first learning target, and we are comparing abiotic versus biotic factors and how they affect living things. So these are things that are alive and things that are not alive and how they affect each other. So you should be following along with your 1.1 note-taking guide. All right, so the first thing that we're looking at here is what is the different about these two pictures, okay? So I've got this woman here. She's actually being attacked by birds, if you can tell in the picture. And this boy here has got water coming down over his face. Now you can follow along on this PowerPoint, by the way, by downloading it and just listening to the lecture. So what are biotic factors? Biotic factors are all living things that affect other organisms. So these are factors that are alive and affect other things. So here are some characteristics. We have that they must grow and develop. Okay, so like this plant is growing and develop. They reproduce. We have some frogs here reproducing. We are made of cells. They respond to their environment. So if you look at these sunflowers, they're actually turning. If you've ever seen sunflowers, they turn and face the sun. So they're literally responding to their environment. They are made of cells. And I said they adapt to their environment. They obtain and use energy. Okay, sunflowers are obtaining energy from the sun. This eagle here is eating some small something, and it's obtaining energy from eating. Okay, so what are some examples of biotic factors? We just looked at a lot of things, but basically plants, animals, bacteria, fungi, diseases, things that are alive that can hurt us or that can help us. Okay, so abiotic factors. Abiotic factors are all of the non-living things that affect organisms. Okay, we are organisms. Every living thing is an organism. So what are some non-living things that affect organisms? Well, if we look at this picture, we can see this boy in the rain, right? So rain, we'll get to right now, is something that could affect, it's not alive, and it affects living things. Okay, so these are not dead things. Abiotic does not mean dead. It just means that they're not alive. So these are environmental factors that were never alive. All right, so some examples, you could have wind, precipitation, which is rain, snow, the climate as a whole, okay? That includes the temperature, the terrain. Also, we have the rocks. Anything that's a part of the environment but is not alive, okay? These are things that affect living things. Okay, so how do they affect living things? You're going to have to follow along probably the font on here. You're going to have to follow along on your own PowerPoint. But walking through these different things, we have water. So water is very important. It's a non-living thing, but it's key to life because it transports nutrients in animals and plants. We couldn't have life without it. We're going to get into that into our future learning targets. Also, it regulates temperature. So, actually, because we live by Detroit, we live by a river. That river actually helps keep the temperature around the area more regular. Okay, and it also regulates temperature in our bodies, the plants. Water makes it so that it's hard for things to cool down too fast and heat up too fast. Okay, we also have let's go to carbon. Carbon, that's how animals and plants store energy. So it's not alive. So if we didn't have carbon, we wouldn't have any life because it's how plants and animals store energy. All right? Oxygen, that's how animals and plants get their energy from the food. So they breathe in, even plants breathe in, you didn't know this, but plants breathe in oxygen and release carbon dioxide to get energy from their food. Okay? And lastly, nitrogen. It's a building block of proteins, which are in all living things as well. So nitrogen, carbon, oxygen, these are all incredibly important building blocks, which must be cycled and we need for everything to be alive. And then, of course, water is necessary for life on Earth. You can't go very long without having some water. Okay, so in this picture, what we need to do is identify the different factors, the abiotic and the non-biotic, the abiotic and the biotic factors, okay? It's late, guys. I'm trying to get through this. Hopefully this is helpful to you. If not, we'll do it live. So we have abiotic factors. What do we talk about? Well, we talked about the sun, okay? We talked about the sunlight, okay? That's not alive, it's not a living thing, but it definitely affects all of this life, okay? We have the water, of course, all right? So let's label on your notes, label that things that you see as abiotic factors, okay? Now, biotic factors, there are a ton of, okay? All of these living things we would consider biotic factors, okay? So you can label a bunch of the biotic factors, all right? Now, how would we draw some of these abiotic factors cycling through the environment, okay? So think about, let's look at water. And I think at this point we've all seen, whether it's environmental science or middle school, we've seen the water cycle, right? So I'd like you to draw, if you could, draw the water kind of going up. Maybe you could draw some clouds and then coming down and raining and washing down and back into the pond. So that is an example of an abiotic factor that's cycling through the environment. Now, you probably don't know about all the abiotic factors like nitrogen and carbon and oxygen. We'll go over those in some of your other classes and a little bit more in depth in biology. But for now, I want you to be aware that all of these factors are all part of one system. They're all contained in one ecosystem that keeps everything alive. And if you lost any one of these things, and they went away, you wouldn't be able to have life. So the four that we mentioned, four in your notes, water, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, are very important, but there are many other things too. Okay? If we didn't have energy from the sun, we couldn't have life either. So all of these abiotic factors are necessary to have life on Earth. Okay? So that is how abiotic factors and biotic factors affect life. Hopefully you're able to follow along with my presentation. I also want you to look at the PowerPoint, download that. And if you still need help, you can conference me or come to one of our scheduled learning opportunities and I'll present this to you. Thank you.